Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Auction for the Soul. This week's Auction for the Soul was dedicated with Learning with Rabbi Ibragimov, dedicated for the health, the leadership, and the success of President-elect Donald Trump, sponsored by Radna and Habib Monas. Also, this week of Torah learning was dedicated by the Torah Center Silver donor, friends of Birkat Yitzchak from Mexico, in loving memory, Elili Nishmat, Letya Bat Ventura, Vivian Alav HaShalom, the Neshama should have, and Aliyah. Okay, so Perashat Mikess. Okay, and Hanukkah. We have like a double idea today that I want to kind of like. What I'd like to do this week is I want to highlight the parsha and overlay it onto the holiday of Hanukkah. Okay, so now we know that the parsha begins with Yosef's ascent to the throne. He becomes the viceroy of Egypt. He becomes the viceroy of Paro. We also know that parsha begins with the word Vayihi Miketz. Right? Whenever you have the word Vayihi in the Torah, it is always an expression of something negative. It is not a positive word. We see this with Vayihi b'mei Achashverosh. You see it with the story of Purim. It is the beginning of something that is dark that is about to emerge. Now, Rashi points out that the word Vayihi over here is a negative comment, and he's talking about it. It talks about it in terms of Rashi of Yosef having to extend 2 more years staying in Galut, simply because he asked the butler for help and asking him to remind Paro that he is a prisoner in jail who wants to be freed. And that was a lack of faith by Yosef. It's difficult to understand. Why shouldn't he do his hishtadlut, his efforts? But that's for another story. I want to get into something a little bit different. Let's just go through the Pesukim a little bit, and let's see if we can walk away with something profoundly meaningful. Okay, so Parsha tells us that he finally gets Yosef has his dream. Paro has his dreams with the fat cows, the skinny cows. I don't want to do that. You all are familiar with that. You could definitely look it up. It is fascinating and interesting. There's lots of very deep Torah that is associated with the dream itself. It's a prophecy that Paro was having. He had the same exact dream for 2 years because he was supposed to come out of jail 2 years earlier, and because of his lack of faith, he has the dream over and over again. But Paro finally gets the interpretation, gets to meet Yosef, and he is super satisfied with what is happening, right? And the pasuk tells us that as Paro is blown away by Yosef's interpretation, which was not a novel interpretation, very similar to the interpretation that the Khartoumeh, the dream interpreters of Paro of Egypt, were able to reveal, but there was something uniquely different, and that was the person delivering the message. Paro knew the interpretation of the dreams, right? He also knew that the interpreter had something unique. He had a special power. He was gifted with a special ruach. And this is what he said. This is Perek Chaf Aleph Pasuk Lamed Gimel. Okay, 41:33. Va'ata yere Paro ish navon v'chacham. So now let Paro seek out a man of discernment. V'shitehu al ha'eretz Mitzrayim, and he should put that person's wisdom in charge of Egypt. This is Yosef telling Paro, listen, part of this is, okay, you're going to have 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine, but more importantly than anything else in the world is you got to find a wise guy, a wise man who is filled with the Spirit of God, and let him rule and run things for you. Let him organize. You're too much of a king to worry about the small minutia, the details. Find someone who can run your kingdom for you, someone who will understand how to save, someone who will understand how to tax, someone who will understand how to build the economy so that when these days of famine come, you will be prepared. Okay, Yaseh Paro v'yifkad pekadem al haaretz v'chaymish et haaretz Mitzrayim v'sheva shnei hasava. Okay, let Paro take steps to appoint officials over the land and prepare Egypt for the years of famine during the 7 years of plenty. He's giving him the answer to the dream, not just an interpretation to the dream of the years of plenty and famine, but this is how you're going to go ahead and answer the riddle of, oh my God, what do I do? How do I prepare for 7 years of famine? Through the 7 years of plenty. Okay. Let's store the foods. He starts telling him exactly what to do. Then the pasuk says, everyone is blown away. Okay, you have this guy in jail. Okay, this young kid who's a Jew. They all know it. Okay, and they hear his interpretation, which was not novel, but the thing that floored them was, how do you answer the riddle of 7 years of famine? How do you even do that? How do you prepare? The truth is, I just saw something in the news that was actually interesting, an article that I read, that if, God forbid, the power grid in the world went down, let's say the power in the United States was out for a year, okay, 90% of the population would not survive. 90% of the population does not know how to live without juice flowing in the system. Power helps water, it pumps the water to our homes. The power heats our homes. Power refrigerating, storing food, heating our food, and so on and so forth. God forbid, if something happened to the power grid, most people would not know how to live off the land. Even in Egypt, they were so used to an economy that was based on the Nile River flooding the fields and there always being produce. What would happen? God forbid, if it didn't work, they saw catastrophe. Oh my gosh, if this thing comes true, 7 years of famine, imagine 7 years of no food, we're finished. Yosef comes along and says, I got the solution. We're going to go ahead and we're going to set aside food for the 7 years of plenty, and we're going to ration our food, and we're going to go ahead and store it in a genius way. And we're going to prepare a way that we could go ahead and care for all the citizens of Egypt and the world. Remember, Egypt was a hub of all kinds of commerce. It is a place that was able to feed everybody, not just the Egyptians. And the Egyptians became super wealthy as a result of Yosef's ingenious plan. Okay, this is the pasuk I'm going to get to. Paro says to his servants, can we find someone like this? Ish asher ruach Elokim bo. Are we going to find someone that has the Spirit of God in the way Yosef is explaining right now? Now, why is he saying this? Why is Paro saying this? He's got the guy standing right there. But Paro's a smart guy. He knows that there's no Egyptian noble that's going to accept a Jew to rule over them. So he's posing the question. And listen to what's happening over here. You see how Paro is setting up Yosef to become a highly respectable man in Egypt, because of course you would never accept a Jew to rule over you. Where are we going to find another man like this, who's the Spirit of God within him? Now, Yosef is standing there. Where are we going to find a guy like this? Because he knows they're not going to accept a Jew, so he's addressing the issue. And then the Pesukim continues. Okay? He says, "V'yom Paro al Yosef, achrei hodia Elokim otcha et kol hazot en navon v'chacham k'mocha." Right? Since God made all this known to you, and there's no one as smart as you are, because I know I got to find the right guy. Atatiye el beiti ve'al picha yishak et kol ami rak hakiseh agadol mimcha. Right? You're going to be the guy in charge of my court. You're going to be the one that takes. You're going to be the guy that has the power of telling the people what to do. Only my throne will outrank you. Okay, you're going to be the second guy. You're going to become the viceroy. Vayomer Paro Yosef, Re'eh natati otcha kol eretz Mitzrayim. I'm going to give you all power over all of Egypt. And this is happening in front of the court, the king's court. V'yasar Paro et tabato. Now he takes off his ring. Ma'al yado. Ve'yiten ota, and he gives it to him. Al yad Yosef. So the first thing is, hey, where are we going to find a guy? Hey, you're the guy. Number two, he takes off his signet ring and he puts it on Joseph. All of this, again, is part and parcel of Paro's way of conferring Yosef with his power, but also as a way of getting the people to see him as an elite aristocrat. Takes off his ring, puts it on him. V'yilbash oto bigdei shesh. He dresses him in fine robes of linen. V'yasem ravad hazahav al tzavaro, and he placed a gold chain around his neck. He's dressing him up in the king's clothing. He's got the ring. He's got the necklace. He's got the clothing. He's fitting the part, no longer as a man in prison, but as a man who is being decked out to go ahead and take over the city. Then he says what? He puts him in a chariot. He gives him a chariot ride in the king's famous chariot. And he goes and anyone who sees him, right, has got to bend the knee for him. Okay, he was like a king. He was like an authority over the land of Egypt. All of this is happening by Paro, so that Yosef will be respected and accepted as a power in Egypt. Paro el Yosef, ani Paro, I am Paro. Ubladecha lo yarim ish et yado et raglo b'chol eretz Mitzrayim. I am Paro. I decree that without your say, whatever you say, Yosef, no man may lift his hand or his foot in Egypt. This is power, my friends. Okay, that Yosef is getting. Yikra Paro Shem Yosef. Not only that, it's not enough for him to go ahead and give him the ring. It's not enough to go ahead and dress him and give him this gold. What else does he have to do? He has to change his name, because you still sound too Jewish to me. But Yikra Paro Shem Yosef, he changes his name to Tzafnat Paneach. Right? Your name is no longer Joseph, your name is Tzafnat Paneach. Ve'yitin lo et Osnat bat Potifara, Kohen on, le'isha. He gives him a girl to marry. Who are you marrying? You're marrying the head priest's daughter. So I got to change the way you look. I got to change your name. I got to give you the bling. And then I got to give you a girl to marry. You got to marry someone that's high line society. Okay? Why is Paro doing this? He's teaching us what assimilation looks like over here. How am I going to assimilate Yosef? How is he going to be accepted? I'm going to change everything about this guy. Let's do a Hebrew makeover. And this is what it looks like. Okay? V'yitin lo bat Osnat bat Potifar. We know that she was, Osnat was the daughter of Dinah, of Leah's daughter. Leah's granddaughter was Osnat, and she was Jewish, and he ends up marrying her as well. Okay? Wow. So Yosef has been made, all this is all given to him. Now, why do I think this is such a powerful story to be reading? So we know what happens next. He becomes the ruler, he goes out and sees the land, and he sets up the storehouses, and now 7 years of plenty are coming to an end. The 7 years of famine begin, and the brothers are going up to Egypt. Fascinating story. The brothers go up to Egypt, and they're looking for Joseph and for food. Okay, they feel bad for what happened, and they feel terrible about all of this. Now, Mikess always is right around Hanukkah. It's always around this time of the year, right? Not an accident that the 25th of Kislev, right, is the night where last night was the first night where we lit the candles. Not an accident that the 25th of December is is the beginning of another holiday, right? Not an accident over there. Our holiday started 200 years before Christianity, okay? Hanukkah happens 200 years before the Christian religion was even a thing. Now, we know that this is the time of the year where the Greeks were trying to Hellenize the whole world. Now, they accepted Jews, they accepted Judaism. They even translated Judaism into Greek, right? They were all about sharing wisdom. But at some point, right, a guy named, Achashverosh, right? Not Achashverosh, wrong holiday. You have, oh my gosh, what's the name of the king that puts the decree on the Jewish people? Antiochus, the wicked king, sorry. Antiochus, the wicked king, okay, he puts on a decree where he makes all of Judaism illegal. You can't study Torah, women cannot go to the mikveh, Brit Milah is illegal, keeping Shabbat is illegal, no Rosh Chodesh, no new moon, anything that has to do with, keeping Judaism alive becomes completely banned, illegal, okay? But you could still be a Jew by being a Hellenistic Jew, someone who practices Judaism light or Jewishness, and a lot of Hellenistic features, right? You could have a Beit HaMikdash, but you're going to have to serve Jupiter. You're going to have to go ahead and serve Apollo and other gods as well. You can have both. If you can't not only do both, you can't be part of our empire. And therefore, the Maccabees, Mattatyahu and his children say, you know what? We're fighting for Jewish identity. Jewish identity is what we want, right? Anytime Jews assimilate, it's the beginning of the end. And usually what ends up happening is the Jews that are most assimilated are the ones that hate the Jews that are being authentic to their religion, right? We see it today, how Jews have such a hard time seeing other Jews practicing their faith. Like I wear a kippah wherever I go. Oh, why can't you put that away? Why can't you wear a cap? Why can't you, look more like everybody else? And I'm like, how Jewy do I look compared to a Hasid with peyot? That drives people crazy. Oh, there's that guy. Why is he got to look so Jewish? No, part of being a Jew is being proud of who you are and where you came from. Now, Paro understood that the way we could get Yosef to be accepted is let him assimilate. Let's get him to change everything, right? Let him look like us, let him dress like us, let him marry one of us. Let's get all that Jewish stuff away. Paro, this particular holiday is about preserving our identity. Now, with everything that changed with Yosef, We know that when he names his children, what does he call them? Ephraim and Menashe. He does not give them Egyptian names. He gives them very Jewish names, very names that are very much associated with his struggle, right? He gives them a name that is symbolic of his unique struggle as a Jew in Egypt. This is the time of the year where we're celebrating the few against the many, the light against the darkness. We still have hostages that are held captive in Gaza. There's still a war going on. It's 455 or 56 days since this whole thing started. We want it to come to an end. But it comes to an end with, I think, the following idea. Yosef is struggling with his family. He understands that this dream of his is going to come true, that he's going to go ahead and rule over his brothers. And he doesn't want to pain them, but he understands that this is part of this greater theme that's happening. Pause for a second, okay? In the Parsha before, where Yaakov meets the angel of Esav, Sar Esav, and he blesses him and he changes his name from Yaakov to Israel. We know that he's able to harm Yaakov by hitting his left leg. That's why we don't eat the Gid Hanasheh, right? He hits him in the place of Hod. The right leg represents Netzach, the left leg is Hod. Hod, splendor, Hod, humility, Hod, beauty. The disagreement that the Greeks have with the Jews is how we understand the physical world. Hod is an expression of that. Hod is Aharon. Aharon's job is to be the Ohev Shalom, the Rodef Shalom, the lover of peace, the pursuer of peace. He's the guy that humbles himself so he can go to the commoner and make peace between them. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, to be a Jew isn't to be a snob. To be a Jew is to find the humility to take care of all things on the planet. That we have a responsibility to care for every single human being, family, friends, even foe. And it's hard to live up to that standard, especially when you have people hating you so much. But we have no future if we can't be intact with our own brothers. The galut that we're in right now is an expression of the galut that Yosef and the brothers were in. They were not in Israel when this happened. They go down to Egypt. Vehi Mikess. That Vehi is talking about the fact that at that moment it became clear that as Jews were going to be slaves in a strange land. They're going to be strangers in a strange land and be enslaved in that land. That's what this was. This was the beginning of the end. The 7 years of plenty, oh God, the markets are doing great, we're making so much money, amazing preparation for 7 years of famine, only to drag the Jewish brothers down to Egypt so that they could begin, that would be the beginning process of their slavery, where their identity would be challenged. The reason why we give the bracha of on Friday night to our children, Ephraim and Menashe, right? Like we bless our children to be like Ephraim and Menashe because they were the first two brothers born in exile, maintained the Jewish identity and loved one another. Hanukkah is a story about Jews not just fighting against the Greeks, we were fighting against the Mityavnim, the Jews that assimilated into Hellenistic culture. How do we win that battle? By holding on to things like our names, to our dress, holding on to the things that are most important, our core values, to our Torah, to our Shabbat, to kosher, to to our ability to humble ourselves, to learn from other people, to be bigger than the world around us. How do you destroy the darkness? By lighting a small candle, right? The candle itself is nothing. It's a little wick, a little bit of oil, a little bit of shemen. Not like Shabbat. There are certain laws that prevent you from using specific oils on Shabbat. You can't use any oil to light your Shabbat candlesticks. But for it comes to the menorah, you can use anything. You can use anything to bring light into a world of darkness. Shabbat is about bringing holiness into the world. Hanukkah is about fighting to preserve holiness in the world. And when you're fighting to preserve holiness in the world, you can use any kind of oil. Shabbat, sanctity, we got special laws over there about how to keep Kiddusha. Okay, there are rules about that. So what is this whole holiday about? The holiday, and I believe the story of Yosef was about humility. The brothers lacked the humility to recognize that maybe Yosef's dreams could come true. And it didn't have to be a fight. Why can't we see that? Why couldn't they see the love in Yosef? It says they saw his face. They saw Yosef, they didn't recognize their own brother. How can you have brothers not recognizing their own brothers? Was it just because of the mask? You didn't get a sense of who he was? Or maybe they never really saw who he was. Maybe they ignored that other Jew on the street. Maybe they ignored the other brother. That's not what we want. The way in which we're able to change this world, I'm a very big believer in this, the way we bring Mashiach, the way we change our reality, right, is by having the humility to recognize I don't have all the answers, but I'm here to love everybody. To love means to give unconditionally. To love means to be open to another person, to hearing them out. It means that I'm able to, quiet my own wants and needs and create a space for somebody else. There's active listening happening. I'm able to, validate another person's feelings and the problems that are going through. We're all different. Hanukkah is about opening ourselves up to different kinds of sufganiyot. Stop being a sufganiya snob. Try a different flavor once in a while. Right? Open yourself up to something different. Explore. That's what Hanukkah is about. The brothers' inability to explore and see Yosef as not as a threat, but as a brother, is why we're still in Galut. And if we are unable to see the beauty in other people, okay, our Galut will continue to be even longer. I hope and I pray that with everything that's going on in the world, all the craziness, all the anti-Semitism that is still is very frothy for me, okay, when we're able to create a world for ourselves of shalom, with different groups, different types of Hasidim, different types of Jews, and the different ways that they express their Judaism, right? Just be open to each other. I'm confident as Jews, in the same way we build the craziest technologies and we're able to make amazing business and do amazing financial things for the world, I think more importantly, we'll create a space where we're able to open our eyes, our perception of reality, to the point where we're not only able to see the good in other people, but we're able to see Hashem's amazing good hand in the world itself. And that will bring Mashiach. Next week, we're going to read about how, Yosef says, Ani Yosef ha'od avichai, I am Joseph, my brother still alive. There's that moment of clarity where the brothers understood that everything that happened to them was for a reason, okay? God willing, we're going to have that moment of clarity soon, inshallah. I believe that the hostages will be freed very soon. We're very close. I'm hoping it happens on Hanukkah. I have a suspicion it will. Okay, we will see that reality, but that reality comes from our ability to recognize the beauty in each one of the special souls that we encounter every single day. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom and a Hanukkah Sameach. Thank you for listening.